Racked by poverty, the Philippines is rife with drugs and guns. But safely behind bars, at the maximum security New Bilibid prison, a group of drug lords call the shots and live like kings.
70% of the operation of drugs nationwide is being run inside the Bilibid prison.
A multi-agency task force prepares itself for the biggest raid ever conducted on the prison.
Actually, they are living like a king inside the Bilibid maximum prisons.
There are contrabands discovered and confiscated, drugs, money, luxurious appliances, chandeliers, branded watches, Rolex, etc.
Like cocaine to Colombia, like opium to Afghanistan, the Philippines is the world's capital for crystal meth. Drug trafficking in the Philippines earns more than $5 billion a year. That's equivalent to 8% of the nation's income. Methamphetamine hydrochloride, or crystal meth for short, is also known as ice. In the Philippines, it's called shabu. It is one of the fastest growing drug problems in the world, and it's the country's drug of choice, consumed by 10% of the population and 90% of drug users.
There is hardly any locality in the country that is not drug affected. The issue is just really the magnitude, which areas have bigger drug problems than the other areas.
In the Philippines, the Department of Justice heads a number of government agencies, such as the NBI, the National Bureau of Investigations, and the Bureau of Corrections, which manages the maximum security New Bilibid prison. Head of the Department of Justice is attorney Leila de Lima, and the reports of drug activity in the prison disturb her.
I started focusing on the drug issue within the National Bilibid prison 2 years ago, that it would seem that there are really inmates within the National Bilibid prison who continue to engage in the drug trade while confined. At first, I could not believe it. How could it ever be possible that they continue to ply drug trade when they're supposed to be confined?
In the heart of Manila, the old Bilibid prison was built by the Spanish in 1847. Due to a rapidly growing prison population, in 1940, it was relocated to Muntinlupa, an hour away from central Manila. The prison was renamed the New Bilibid Prison. But it's not the iron bars and cells you would expect from your everyday prison. Bilibid was special, encouraging community living nurtured in a township atmosphere. A kind of home away from home. But it was built to house 8,700 inmates. Today, its population is an overcrowded 23,000. Rod is a former inmate of New Bilibid. He was sentenced to life in 1993 for a murder he committed during an attempted robbery. He was released in 2006.
At yung mga oras na yun, siyempre, como bago lang tayo ron, tinitingin na ako ng mga dapat mga gawin doon.
The New Bilibid prison is huge. Its grounds span a massive 10 hectares. It first became the Philippines' maximum security compound in the 1970s. It contains the Philippines' most dangerous criminals, lifetimers, multiple convictions, long-term sentences of more than 20 years. These are the Philippines' most hardened criminals. Most of them are going nowhere, and they know it.
Maraming gang yan, kanya-kanya. Kaya bawat building, merong isang...
Important knowledge for a new inmate to have is to know the prison gangs and how they operate. Gangs with colorful names such as Sputnik, BCJ, Commando, and 14K, among others. Each has a controlling interest inside the prison. Rivalry is intense. In 2012, the leader of Sputnik was shot dead. The disagreement? A billiard game.
Inaayos agad. Kunwari, Sputnik ako. May nakalabang kami, BCJ. Pag hindi nakuha sa magandang pag-uusap, doon nagkakaroon ng gulo. Titira rito. Madidisgrasya yung tao, bawian.
The prison is severely understaffed. One prison guard is left to manage one brigade of inmates. Each brigade consists of around 600 inmates. So when trouble erupts, as it can at any time, a guard is left little option except to run for his life.
Kaya minsan, kapag nagkakaroon ng problema, mawawala yung gwardiya. Siyempre, matatakot din yun. Baka madisgrasya. Tsap-tsapin ka ron, ilalagay doon sa CR namin napakalaki. Kasi marami ako nakakita na patero, siguro mga 4. Puro kilala ko.
What motivates the gangs is making money. So they run the lucrative drug business from the inside. And prison, surprisingly, is the perfect place for them to do so. It's a perfectly self-contained economic system of criminality. Prison is the safest and most secure place to run the business, because bribery means prison guards will turn a blind eye.
The salary grade, the compensation, the condition, the situation of our correctional workers are really miserable, and they're quite low. So they are easily corruptible. They're vulnerable to corruption.
With money comes power. Corrupt guards help the gangs to bring in the drugs and other contraband into the prison.
The prison system we have now is a microcosm of Philippine society, in the sense that, okay, right within the prisons there are the ordinary inmates who are under the sphere of influence of the privileged few, including the drug inmates.
The privileged few are typically convicted former high-ranking government officials, including former politicians, policemen, and military officers. But at the top of the ladder among the privileged few are the drug lords. Accommodation for the privileged few is also far superior to the overcrowded dormitories of the regular inmates. Unique and relatively private housing within the prison compound. These houses are known as kubol. A kubol was originally designed and built to facilitate a conjugal visit for the inmates.
These drug lords who has the money, the influence already, they manage to control this unit of facility.
And with money flowing in from the drugs business, the drug lords renovate their kubols.
Pero kung ako gusto kong magpagawa ng kubol, magbabayad din ako. Kasi wala namang materyales sa loob, hindi ka bibili sa labas eh. Bibili ka sa labas. Makikisuyo ka sa gwarda, kasi papasok ng gwardiya yun. Tapos may kakausap kang karpintero, gagawin nyo, walang bayad. Ganun yun. Ngayon, para gumanda pa kubol mo, gusto mong madagdagan, lalagyan mo siya ng another division, second floor.
One infamous member of the privileged few with his own kubol is Herbert Colango. As the mastermind behind a bank robbery gang, he was caught and sentenced to 12 years in 2009. He quickly bought his way into the privileged few and took over a kubol for himself. And with lots of time on his hands, in a twist of events, Colango decided to pursue his ambition as a singer while serving his sentence. So he converted his kubol into a music studio and recorded an entire album in jail.
With 1,000 rooms, will you please welcome Maximum Security Compound? Check these out, the Golden Boys! Mr. Herbert, sing, come on!
Colango, the former bank robber's music, is a chart topper. His album sells more than 15,000 copies, and he even performs for his fans from inside the prison. New Bilibid Prison is like a university of crime. Rod starts out as an undergraduate member of Sputnik Gang. His goal is to graduate as a drug lord. With good grades, he quickly becomes an assistant mayor. A mayor is the leader of a subgroup within the gang, and he reports directly to the drug lords themselves. Rod's rapid rise through Sputnik Gang's ranks brings him to the attention of Peter Ko, the master drug lord from rival gang known as 14K.
Si Peter Ko, nakilala ko yan sa basketball court. Kasi meron kami tinatawag na tournament doon eh. Alam ko, ordinaryong tao eh. Pero nung habang tumatagal, nalaman ko, siyempre, sa mga kakosa ko rin na big time syndicate. 14K din pala yan eh.
As Rod dives deeper into the drug business inside the prison, he begins to see big money raked in by the drug lords. But the cash is always carefully concealed.
Kahit magka-raidan man, hindi mo mahuhuli dahil nga nakatabi.
But the kings of Bilibid are about to be busted.
Uy! Jumbo!
Incarcerated in the Philippines' toughest maximum security prison, Rod has quickly climbed the ladder as a member of the Sputnik Gang. His increasing seniority brings him into the inner circle of the prison's real mover and shaker, Peter Ko, master drug lord and head of the 14K gang. The drug which has made Peter Ko his millions is known locally as shabu, crystal meth. The year is 1993. It's been 2 years since Rod's entry into Bilibid. According to Rod, shabu was being cooked inside one of the kubols.
Ngayon, siyempre, ako, marami rin akong tao ron. Pangalawa ako sa pinakamataas sa brigada, assistant mayor ako, may mas mataas pa sa akin ng mayor. At minsan, nakikita ko kung paano paggawa.
To cook shabu, one would need a clandestine lab to mix the right chemicals. But here at Bilibid, the drug lords improvise. All they need are the chemicals and a cooking pot.
Ngayon, meron kaming isang kawang malaki ron, talaga nag-manage nun yung mayor namin. Yun ang ginagamit ng mga kapwa bilanggo ko. Pag kumakain kami, yun din ang ginagamit namin yung kawa. Nagluluto sa pagkain, sa kitchen, ganun kalaki. Ang naluluto ron, more than 50 kilos a day.
The cooking process will release a pungent smell. This proved to be a problem for the drug lords, but again, they improvise.
Kaya yung ano ron, yung mga kaya nga hindi nangangamoy, meron silang ginagamit kagaya ng mga buko flavor. Kaya pag nagluto,
Items needed to cook meth can easily be found from stores legally, such as battery acid, chloroform, coal tablets, iodine and ether.
syempre yung nagpasok, malaki rin ang bibigay ron. Hindi maaaring umundi.
After 8 hours of cooking, the meth forms.
Ano niyo muna, syempre palalamigin. Mga 1 day. Ngayon parang kristal. Ngayon kukuha ko ng kristal. Tapos ako mismo, dinuduro ko yun.
Then the packaging begins, followed by sale to other gang leaders such as Peter Coe.
Big time, kaya let's say na si Peter ko bibili, bulto binibili niyan. Kasi big time yan eh. Pero may sariling ano yan.
But according to Rod, the manufacturing of meth eventually stopped. It was much easier to bring in the end product from outside than go through the tedious process of cooking.
We have been receiving those reports that there is a Shabu laboratory inside, but during the actual inspections and several operations, we found it to be negative. They can easily bring these drugs inside for their consumption.
Smuggling in the drugs from outside is easy. It just means greasing the hands of the prison guards.
Gwardiya ako, may rango ako eh. SO1, Senior Officer 1. Walang gagawin yung gwardiya kundi sumaludo. Kaya siyempre, pagpasok ko, dire-diretso lang ako. Tapos diretso na ako sa brigada. Kaya ganun ang kalakaran nun. Pagpasok nun, isang araw, operate. Pag natapos na, benta.
This maximum jail is like a small community wherein the jail guards and the inmates are sometimes they become friends because they've been staying there for a long period of time.
The wholesome, rehabilitating community life that was intended when the new Bilibid prison was first built was never planned to be quite like this. Money flows into the prison through visitors. Money that feeds many inmates' addiction to shabu. Crystal meth is cheap inside the prison. A sachet will cost no more than $5 US. With 23,000 prisoners inside Bilibid, the drug lords have a captive market.
Kasi mas malaki ang income. Kasi ang bentahan namin, mura lang pero marami. Maramihan. Malaki. Kasi ang daan ng pera sa akin yan, pag nagbigay ako sa kanila ng isang bulto, bumapasok sa akin yan na 120,000. Ang pasok ng pera sa commander namin, sa mayor namin, minsan sa akin, nagre-remit. Pero sinusurrender ko yun sa commander namin.
The flow of money inside is where everybody gets serious. Collection, counting, and keeping it safe. It's all strictly and carefully monitored.
Pag hindi sinurrender yung pera, ginamit nila sa kalokohan, medyo tawag kami parusa. Yung pinapalo-palo ka ng bat, kahit sa katamaan. Mamatay ka man, sorry ka.
Keeping the money hidden is the #1 priority.
At magka-raidan man, di mo mahuhuli dahil nga nakatabi. Meron nga rin simento, hindi mo alam. Pero napapasok mo kami mo sa may kabila. Kaya kahit yung sa mga tulugan namin, may mga secret na ano yun. Akala mo plywood lang. Ngayon, pag tinibag mo,
The money keeps pouring in, and most of it was ending up in Peter Coe's hands. A mountain of money that grew higher and higher. Peter Coe and the other drug lords knew they were onto a winning ticket, so they could afford to live like kings. But as the money rolled in, shabu addiction kept on rising. This attracted the attention of the authorities, and they weren't happy. The prison chief drew up a plan.
In 2010, we conducted a operation based on that request, precisely to find hidden illegal drugs, methamphetamine hydrochloride, known as Shabu, inside this the prison set of the maximum security compound. At that time, we found hidden sachet of methamphetamine, and after a day operation, we were led to the cell of this convicted prisoner, a certain Mr. Peter Ko.
So who is Peter Ko? Real name, Wu Tuan Yuan. A Taiwanese national, he was arrested in Manila in 1999 for the trafficking of crystal meth. Convicted of drug trafficking, Peter Ko was serving a 40-year sentence at the new Bilibid prison. Without pardon or parole until he had served 30 years of his sentence, his was going to be a long stay. But Peter Ko had a glimmer of hope. He appealed for presidential clemency and continued to serve his sentence while awaiting the verdict. But the raid ruined his chances of success. With possible clemency blocked and the chance of parole still 20 years away, Peter rebuilt his empire once more. This time he took the crown and became the king of the new Bilibid prison. He aimed to make the most of the many years behind bars that lay ahead of him.
They have their own men outside, but the operation is being controlled by these drug lords inside the penitentiary.
To gather more intel, the National Bureau of Investigation, headed by Chief Mendez, places the department's own spies inside the new Bilibid prison.
He has several contacts with China, and he is one of the biggest players of drugs in the country.
The informants began relaying information gathered from inside the prison.
They can use cell phones, and according to our informants, they are living in a luxurious life. They have some air-conditioned room, television sets, appliances, and they are allowed to use cell phones.
Further investigations carried out by the NBI revealed more alarming information about Peter Ko. So head of the Department of Justice, Secretary Leila de Lima, decides to go straight to the heart of the problem.
So at that highest level, we concocted this operation. And so we thought that the best and most effective way to really put a stop to the drug problem is to do an honest-to-goodness, thorough raid.
Early morning on December the 15th, 2014, a massive multi-agency task force of more than 300 officers prepares itself to storm New Bilibid prison. But even they will be surprised by what they are about to find. When news of Peter Ko's illegal drug operation from inside the walls of New Bilibid prison reaches the head of the Department of Justice, Secretary Leila de Lima, she makes it her mission to put a stop to it. She orders a massive raid. On December the 15th, 2014, a multi-agency task force made up of more than 300 of the best officers from all departments, led by the National Bureau of Investigation, assembles outside the prison.
Group 1 to 4 ready? Yes, sir. Okay, proceed to your respective gates.
Leading the enormous raid operation is Justice Secretary de Lima herself.
Since the operation was considered as classified, we got the instruction from our chief of the anti-illegal drugs unit Attorney Agosto Eric Isidoro. On the day of the actual operation,
The objective of the raid was simple: to put a stop to the drug operations inside the prison once and for all. But they're not prepared for what they're about to discover.
when we effect and implement the raid, it must be done through a non-violent way in order to prevent bloodshed. But we have to ready ourselves for any eventualities.
Divided into groups, the officers and government agents enter the prison compound. Officers from the Bureau of Corrections, or BUCOR, coordinate with the raiding agents and identify the Kubols and their inhabitants.
We observed that the room that were pointed to us by the Bucor, by some Bucor officials and employees. My team was assigned to the three drug lords, Tony Ko, Peter Ko, and Hansel Tan. They are occupying Kubol who are just adjacent to each other.
Eric and his team enter the first Kubol.
Just an ordinary room. It looks like an office, and there were no beds inside, and there was no air-conditioned room. It seems that the air-conditioned units were already taken in advance.
The kings of the Kubols knew they were coming. Someone had tipped them off.
Suspected also that these inmates were already informed in advance before we arrived, because one of the cell that were pointed to us, he's a very big guy, and the clothings inside the closet are small one, and including the shoes. And when we told the guy to open his room, he was not able to get the key, the right key. So there's already a suspicion that Kubol is not belong to him.
Despite Eric's suspicions, everything in the Kubols appeared perfectly normal. Nothing was out of the ordinary.
Same with Peter Kokobol. It looks like an office. There were no beds inside the room. It's just a table and TV, and there was no air-conditioned unit also. Just an electric fan and some paintings and commendation he received from a non-government organization.
Eric leaves Peter Ko's Kubol. Perhaps he'll find something incriminating within Tony Ko's Kubol instead.
And when I went to the cell of Tony Ko, we observed that on the mezzanine it was cold. So we suspect because at that time it's very hot, the temperature is hot, and the mezzanine is very cold.
Eric is puzzled why the mezzanine is cold, even without aircon. He suspects the cold air must be coming from another area. Then Eric sees a crack in the wall. Through the opening, the team sees some machines that look like a gym set.
It's a big machine, and we are wondering how he was able to get there because the opening is small.
Eric suspects there's a hidden room behind the wall.
So when we removed the walls, we discovered that there was some door. And when we opened the door, we discovered that the adjacent wall is hiding very nice room. It has a bed, air-conditioned unit. It has a big television set. And adjacent to that, there was also a big toilet with a water pump, cold and hot shower.
Tony Ko really was living like a king. But Eric knew that life for Tony's boss, Peter Ko, had to be even sweeter. He just had to find it.
So I went back to the Kubol of Peter Ko, and I myself, I tried to find some wall that are being newly painted. And I saw that there was a big Christmas tree covering another wall. So I removed the wall and I found out there was a big sliding door inside. And that's the time we discovered a big jacuzzi. There was a shower room with hot and cold also, and a big sauna. It can accommodate, I think, 10 persons.
But this was only the beginning.
And when we went upstairs, there was a big master bedroom. There was a home theater inside. The bed is a king-size bed.
Eric and his men are shocked to see a movie room built to order, along with a projector that comes with a big screen.
We removed the flooring, and we discovered also that there was some expensive wine and whiskey inside that room.
Despite his incredibly lavish rooms, what the teams hadn't found were what was paying for all this. Cash and crystal meth. It had to be in the room somewhere.
And when we removed further the adjacent flooring, we discovered some drugs, I think more than 100 grams.
Finally, when the raiding agents removed one particular wall, they found cash. It was hidden inside a safe box. When it was forced open, the agents found a total of 1.4 million pesos. That's slightly more than $30,000 US.
We discovered also some accounts, deposit slips amounting to say 10, 5 million, like that. And there was notes, I think it was a Chinese character, but there is a figure, I think 1 million, 2 million, maybe it pertains to remittances of drugs or transactions.
The raid told the authorities a lot about Peter Ko and his operations. With this much cash and drugs, he had to have had a lot of help.
He was able to continue his illicit activities by the help of some inmates together with some corrupt Bucor officials.
Peter Ko was able to establish and maintain seamless communications with the outside world. Satellite phones and cell phone signal boosters were found inside his kubol. These boosters enabled Peter Ko to make orders from his suppliers overseas. For Peter Ko, it was just like running a thriving drugs business from the outside. But in New Bilibid, he had protection, and he couldn't be arrested. It worked perfectly.
Since Peter Ko is already inside the jail, he can negotiate freely with impunity because he cannot be arrested anymore. And he is the contact person in other countries like Hong Kong, China. We can say that the Filipino gang and the Chinese gang, they join together so that the business transaction of Peter Ko can be easily distributed outside the Bilibid prison.
With his vast network of dealers outside the country, the authorities believe Peter Ko must have raked in millions. And with that money, he could possibly have planned to someday buy his freedom. That was until the raid.
Actually, they are living like a king inside the Bilibid maximum prisons.
There are contrabands discovered and confiscated, drugs, money, luxurious appliances, chandeliers, branded watches, Rolex, etc.
Peter Ko's kubol is one of a kind. He intended to serve out his long jail sentence living in the lap of luxury.
Hindi maganda buhay nun. Kaya di mo bilhin yung gwardiya yung pagkain pa. Nasusunod yung batas na sinusunod yun pag nakisuyo sa gwardiya yun. Eh yung mga bilanggo nga, kung pwede nga sumaludo, sasaludo sila eh.
With Peter Ko's empire in ruins, the Department of Justice and its supporting agencies begin sifting through the debris of what is left of the lavish lives of the kings of Bilibid. And what they find shocks them even more. The new Bilibid prison in Manila is a maximum security penitentiary for the Philippines' most hardened criminals. The drug lords imprisoned here had turned this prison complex into the equivalent of a luxury five-star hotel. But they'd also made it into a highly profitable drugs business. There were more than enough crystal meth addicts on the inside for them to make money, lots of money. But the Justice Secretary de Lima and her task force of 300 officers and agents brought it all crashing down around their ears. And the one who had the furthest to fall was Wu Tuan Yuan, alias Peter Ko.
When we entered the Kubol, or the so-called special detention cell of Peter Ko, I noticed that the room of Peter Ko could pass as a high-end condominium unit. It has extraordinary facilities like split-type air conditioning unit, Wi-Fi ready, king-size bed, and kitchen. And we could really see the expensive wines and liquor all over the unit of Peter Ko.
But as the teams dig deeper among the possessions, yet more luxury items are discovered. 8 expensive brand watches, including 5 Rolex, high-end brand accessories, a music studio, a 48-inch flat-screen TV, the latest PlayStation, and other entertainment appliances. Among others, some sex toys were found inside some of the kubols. A hot tub and sex doll seized from the kubol of Jojo Baligad, a dismissed US Army serviceman who was jailed for drug trafficking, caused a media sensation. The agents even find a strip bar, an elevated platform with strobe lights and a mirror ball. Numerous strippers were smuggled into the prison to perform for the kings of Bilibid.
It is like an academy of criminals wherein talents of different gangs are being joined together to create a monster out of this different gangster.
Most disturbingly, an assortment of high-powered firearms were discovered.
There were a 5.56 Bushmaster rifle, automatic rifle, and plenty of ammunition. There were, I think, 6 pistols.
Justice Secretary de Lima and her team conducted a total of 8 raids on the Bilibid prison.
We initially thought that during the first raid that we conducted, all the contrabands were seized already. But we were wrong, because during the succeeding raids, we eventually found more contrabands compared to the first and the second.
In total, around 24 firearms, 290 knives, more than 300 cellular phones, and assorted drug paraphernalia are confiscated from the drug lords.
In fact, we already filed a case against Peter Ko for illegal possession of firearms and ammunition and possession of illegal drugs.
19 drug lords, including Peter Ko, are removed from the prison.
It's about 70% of the operation of drugs nationwide is being run inside the Bilibid prison.
With Peter Ko out of business, the suppliers from outside the country will have no buy and shipment will halt. With the raid a success, de Lima and her team hope to stem the flow of drugs into the Philippines.
The first effect is that it would stop the flow, the trade inside and outside of the jail. Because they are the big suppliers outside, then they have no communications with their distributor, then the flow of illegal drugs has to stop.
Meanwhile, the Justice Department is all too aware of the level of corruption necessary to have enabled this. Heads will roll.
Part of the cleanup drive that we're doing is building up the cases to be filed against prison officials and prison guards. Although we were able to relieve already a number of them as an offshoot of that raid.
The case attracts huge media attention. While the internal investigation continues, the 19 drug lords have been transferred elsewhere.
We don't have any information yet what will happen to this inmate. Maybe they are constructing new facilities to house these 19 inmates in order to monitor their activities.
As for Rod, the man he knows as Peter Coe is very different from the notorious drug lord the world sees.
Magaling makisama naman si Peter ko. Minsan niya may utos sa amin, sumusunod kami. Kaya legal man yan o hindi, pinagbibigyan namin dahil nga mabait na kaibigan din si Peter ko. Ganyan namin siya kakilala.
In the Philippines, the average monthly income of a prison guard is approximately $600 US. So the temptation for any extra amount of cash coming in has always been there.
These well-funded inmates, they're the ones shouldering the expenses, like the payment of the electricity bills, water bills. These inmates, funded guards.
Siyempre, ikaw, gwardiya, kikita ka ron. Sasantuhin mo yun. Kaya ganun ka yun sa gwardiya. Ako nga, may sakit yung anak ko, lumapit ako sa kanya, binigyan ako 20. Ganun kadali, makahingi ng pera ron.
The drug world is a ruthless one. Will the Philippines truly be able to eliminate this underworld once and for all?
Wittingly or unwittingly, we were really up against the drug world in this country. And you know how it is when you go after the drug world, the underworld of the drug world. And these are very dangerous people. And they have all the money and the resources and the right connections to really cause, at the very least, harm to their perceived enemies.
The era of Peter Coe and the other drug lords is over for now. The unspoken rules that enabled their rise will change. Their empires have been dismantled, and the new Bilibid prison turns over a fresh page in its history. But only time will tell if others will emerge to become the new kings of the prison.